Welcome in, everybody. Let's dive deep into Juzes 25 of the Quran. This section is brimming with powerful lessons, really striking imagery
Absolutely.
about faith, about our actions, and divine justice. It's going to be a fascinating exploration.
Yeah, and you know what really stands out in this section is how it uses these really vivid, almost cinematic images and parables to get these points across.
Yeah, it's true. Right away, you notice how central Allah's absolute power is.
Right.
It's everywhere. The
Mm.
creation of the heavens and the earth, life, death, even how we're provided for. It's like this constant reminder of this awe-inspiring power.
It is. It's like right from the very first verse of Surah Ad-Dukhan,
Yes.
by the clear book. You know, it's this powerful declaration.
Such a strong start. It sets the tone. Like Allah's power is woven into the very fabric of existence. And it's not just power, right?
Yeah.
It's this sense of complete awareness, like in Surah Ashura,
Oh, yeah.
where it describes Allah as, how does it go? The hearing, the seeing.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, like, if we really internalize that, would it change how we act? Knowing that nothing escapes His notice.
It's a powerful thought, right? And it really makes you think about our role, like the prophets and messengers who were sent to guide us. It's interesting, though, because it points out that even though they were sent to all nations, a lot of them faced resistance. Like they were ridiculed.
It's hard to imagine, right? But it makes you wonder about how we react when our own beliefs are challenged, even a little bit.
Definitely.
Like, are we open? Are we defensive? It's,
It's human nature, I think.
yeah, exactly. And speaking of challenges and reactions, the story of Moses and Pharaoh in this Juzes is,
It's a big one.
it's huge, right?
Yeah.
It's like this epic example of belief and disbelief clashing. It even says it's, let me find the exact wording, a precedent and an example for later peoples.
It makes you think, right?
For sure. It's like we're supposed to see ourselves in this story somehow,
Mm-hmm.
but how?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? Who are we in this story? Who is Pharaoh in our lives? Because it really highlights this timeless struggle, right? This back and forth between those who believe, who put their trust in Allah,
Right.
and those who, even when they hear the truth, they cling to what they know, their own desires, or, the traditions they were raised with.
And the Quran doesn't sugarcoat the consequences of that stubborn disbelief, does it?
No, not at all.
Like that description of Zakum in Surah Ad-Dukhan.
Mm.
Whoa.
It's intense.
It's intense. It's supposed to be like this horrible food for the sinful in hellfire.
It makes you think twice.
It really does. And that connection between what we do here and what comes after, it's a constant theme in Juzes 25, right?
Absolutely. Whether it's Surah Ashura, Surah Al-Jathiyah, it's clear. Good deeds, they have their rewards. Bad deeds.
They have consequences. There's no escaping it.
It's like this looming presence.
The day of judgment.
Yes, exactly. It's like this unavoidable reckoning where all that matters is what we did, not our status, possessions, just our deeds.
And that's kind of terrifying, but also, I don't know, motivating in a way.
Well, it's about finding that balance, right?
Mhm.
Because amidst all of that, there's also this incredible message of mercy and guidance. Like Surah Shura says, Allah is He who accepts repentance from His servants and pardons misdeeds.
It's almost like a sigh of relief after some of the other descriptions,
It's reassuring.
It is. Like, okay, there's hope for us yet, even when we mess up.
Exactly.
It's interesting, though, because you have these universal themes of repentance and forgiveness, but then there are parts, especially in the Surah Al-Zukhruf, that feel very specific to the time. Like, it directly addresses the disbelief and questions surrounding the prophet Jesus. There's even a part where it says, and when the son of Mary was presented as an example, immediately your people laughed aloud.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How it tackles those reactions head on. It really throws you back into that time, doesn't it? Like you can almost feel the tension, the pushback.
It's intense.
Yeah.
And remember, at this point, people had some very, very deeply held beliefs that were being challenged.
Absolutely. And this section, it names those challenges directly, doesn't it? Questioning Jesus as a prophet, even the nature of God.
So how do you go from there if you're trying to get this message across? How do you even respond to that level of resistance?
Well, the Quran, it confronts those doubts head on, but it does it in a really interesting way. Like there's this verse that says, let me see, Jesus was not but a servant upon whom we bestowed favor. It's like shifting the focus.
Back to that core principle of Allah's power.
Exactly. Even prophets, they're still creations of Allah. It's emphasizing this oneness, this unity.
Instead of getting bogged down in comparisons, it's a good reminder, too, that the Quran was revealed over time.
Right. Gradually.
Yeah, in response to specific things that were happening, specific mindsets. But even within that context, there are these timeless themes that just, I don't know, they jump out at you.
Oh, totally. It's like you're reading it for the first time, even if you've, studied it before.
Yes, and that need to remember Allah, that importance of asking for forgiveness, it's all there in Juzus 25.
It's woven throughout, yeah. Like in Surah Ashura, where it says, "And it is he who accepts repentance from his servants and pardons misdeeds."
See, that's what gets me, right? It's that
Mhm.
reassurance. Because it would be easy to get stuck on
The more intense
a
parts,
little. But then you get these reminders of Allah's mercy no matter what.
it's that balance between justice and mercy that we keep coming back to in Juzus 25. We're accountable for what we do, but there's always a way back.
There's always hope, yeah. Though I have to say, some of the descriptions of hellfire in Surah Ad-Dukhan, they definitely add a certain urgency.
It's hard not to feel that, right? When you're confronted with those images?
It's vivid, and it really drives home that our choices, they matter, like eternally.
Absolutely. But it's not just about fear, right?
No.
Because just as we get those glimpses of hellfire, we also see glimpses of paradise. The peace, the abundance, the gardens.
It's like two sides of the same coin, a reminder of what's at stake.
Exactly. And it's not just about the afterlife either. This juices, it urges us to live a certain way right now in this life.
Oh, totally. Like it's laying out a blueprint, almost.
In a way. There are verses about justice, about forgiveness, about community, about consulting with each other.
Like in Surah Ashura, where it talks about those who establish prayer and whose affairs determined by consultation among themselves, and from what we have provided them, they spend.
It's about action, isn't it? It's not enough to just believe. You have to live it.
I like that. So it's belief put into practice.
Mm.
And then there's that verse in Surah Al-Jathiyah that says, "And he is subjected to you, whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth, all from him." That one really struck me. It's like, whoa, it's all connected.
It is. Everything comes back to Allah, but we still have choices to make within that.
We have a role to play.
Exactly. And Juzus 25 is saying, choose wisely, choose faith over doubt, choose good over evil, choose forgiveness. These choices, they echo into eternity.
They really do. And you know what else is interesting? The way this Juzus uses language to communicate all of this, the oaths at the start of the surahs, the imagery, the parables, it's powerful stuff.
It's about making you feel it, right? Not just understand it intellectually, but really connect with it on a deeper level.
Yes. It's like every word, every image is carefully chosen for a reason.
Absolutely. And one of the most striking examples of that is in Surah Az-Zukhruf, where it talks about those who are blinded by their own desires. Let me find it. It says, oh yes, he has set a seal upon his hearing and his heart, and put over his vision a veil.
It's like they're closed off, completely
Yeah.
shut down to anything that might challenge their worldview.
Exactly. And that's something that feels so relevant even today, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're bombarded with information constantly. It's so easy to just stay in our own little bubbles, surround ourselves with what we already agree with.
It takes effort to break out of that.
It does. But that verse, it's a reminder to check ourselves, to be open to other perspectives, even if they make us uncomfortable.
Even if we disagree with them, that willingness to engage, that's where real understanding can start.
It's about being humble enough to admit that maybe we don't have it all figured out.
Exactly. And that's such an important message, especially now. And really, it speaks to this broader theme of knowledge, of seeking understanding that we see throughout Z's 25.
It's true. It feels like there's this emphasis on actively seeking knowledge, not just blindly following.
Yes. It's about engaging with those tough questions. Like, even when it's talking about disbelief, it doesn't shy away from it. It confronts it.
And it invites us to confront it too, right?
Absolutely. Like in Surah Dukhan, there's this part that addresses those who say, let me see, there is not but our first death and we will not be resurrected.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's examine why you might think that.
Instead of just saying, you're wrong, it's like, let's unpack this,
Eh.
which is really interesting when you think about it. And then it uses these amazing stories to drive the point home.
Oh, absolutely. Like the story of Pharaoh, we've touched on it a bit, but here you have this figure who represents worldly power, arrogance, everything. And he's shown clear signs.
Miracles.
Yes. And he still denies the truth. It makes you wonder, what would it take for us to let go of our own deeply held beliefs if we were confronted with something undeniable?
It's a powerful question. And it kind of circles back to that idea of where our allegiance lies, right?
Exactly. Because in the end, worldly power, it fades. It doesn't last.
but all is power. That's the constant. That's what echoes throughout Jews 25.
It's this reminder that there's a higher authority we answer to.
And that on the day of judgment, none of this other stuff will matter.
Right. All that matters is how we lived, the choices we made.
Surah Al-Jathiyah puts it pretty bluntly. And every nation will be called to its record and told, today you will be recompensed for what you used to do.
Wow. When you read it like that,
It's intense. It makes you realize the weight of every decision, big or small.
because those choices, they have ripple effects, not just here, but in the hereafter.
It's almost like this beautiful responsibility, in a way. Like we have the power to shape our own destiny, you know?
It's empowering. And it's a core message of Jews 25. Our actions, our words, our thoughts, they matter. They have an impact. So what will we choose to do with that power? What kind of legacy will we leave behind?
That's a powerful question to end on. It's been amazing really diving into these ideas with you today.
It's been a pleasure.
And for everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this journey through Jews 25. We hope this deep dive has sparked something within you, inspired you to reflect on these timeless themes and their relevance to your own lives. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep striving to live a life of purpose and intention.